Hi, welcome to the lesson 1 of SoundLab. So in this tutorial, I'm going to show you the basics of using FL Studio. So basically, this is the interface of FL Studio, which is the software that we'll mainly be using in SoundLab. So as you can see, there are a lot of buttons here and a lot of knobs and quite a lot of things going on, but this tutorial, I'm just gonna break things down and just let you guys know what each of these buttons means and how to navigate through the software. Um, so basically, let's first get to this file button. And in this file option, you've seen this many options. And new basically means start a new project. And there are a lot of ways you can start a new project. So go to new from template, and there are a lot of things like advanced, minimal, other, performance, utility. So basically what this means is if you choose a template project, then the new project will be automatically set to give you a few instruments. So basically, like we've choose this breakbeat. So if you say you want to produce a breakbeat style music, then it will automatically give you those instruments and set things up for you so that you can get easier in production. So basically that's what the template is doing. Okay, so let's go back to the default, which is basic with limiter. And um, and right now I'm gonna talk about this button right here, which shows 130. And this is basically the tempo of a project. So 130 is measured in beats per minute, so this means 130 beats per minute. And you can always change the tempo by dragging it down and up and down, up and down. Another way you can manually change the tempo is to click on this button and tempo tapper and basically tap the tempo. And based on how frequent you tap, the tapper will give you a set of numbers that basically tells you what's your tempo. And the tempo here will be changed accordingly. So um, now let's go to this channel rack thing, which is basically where you will put all of your instruments. And the default in FL Studio gives you 4 samples, which is the kick, clap, hat, and snare. And if you click in them, they look something like this, which basically looks like a sample audio. And hat, snare, this is the kick. So this is the channel rack is where you put all your audio and your MIDI together. So to input a MIDI, a convenient way to do it is to simply click on the spots here, and if you see some lights on, then it means the lights represents a musical note. And so here, if I do those, then it means it's playing something. So let's play it. So yeah, right now you can hear that it's playing some notes, which is the beats here. And basically what this means is, so as you can see, there are 16 empty slots here. And each of these slots represents a 16th notes. So this will be 16th notes, this will be 8th notes, and this will be a quarter notes, and this will be another start of a quarter notes. So basically what I'm doing here is quarter notes, quarter notes, quarter notes, quarter notes for kicks. And to delete the notes, you can simply right click on this and drag, and that will erase all the notes for you. Another way you can do the notes, say if you're not doing the beats, right? Because entering those slots is really fast and efficient if you're putting the beats down. but it's not really good if you actually want some instruments such as the piano, because you want the pianos to play the actual notes. So if I do the same for piano, then it can only play the default pitch, which is C5. So basically, for the other instruments, if you want to input some more complex MIDI, you can just double click on the instrument and go to piano roll. And in this piano roll, you can see there are a variety of pitches that you can input the notes on. And here are the grids, which represents a time interval. And the default is set to this thing called line, which means each of these lines represents a 16th note separation. So now we have a bunch of C, but we can move the notes up and down. Say, move the second notes to a G, and move the fourth notes to an F sharp. And you can always do those things. You can always just delete the note by right click on a note itself, and you can change the time duration of the notes by simply dragging it left or right. And regarding the dragging, there's still a default time interval. So basically, right now I'm set to this line interval, right? Which means that each time I drag, it will either be increased in 16th notes or decreased in 16th notes. And so if you want to change that, say you want to do a 30-second notes, so you have to scroll through this line menu and go through all of those things and click on something called half step. So basically, half steps reduces the time interval of each grid. And in this half step, each unit you drag will be equal to a 30-second note. So in this case, I'll be dragging 30-second notes instead of 16th notes. And you can always change that to say like 4th step and 3rd step. And each time you change this time interval, the drag will be different. And there's always this option of none. So if you really say you want this notes to sound kind of messy on purpose, you can just drag like this and then just input notes, and it will just land on wherever you click the notes instead of automatically snapping it to the grid like the line will do. So the line will snap it to this line. So even if I click here, the line will still snap it to this grid because it's the closest to where I click. But with none, since the time interval is really set to basically really small, and you can basically end on wherever I click. Alright, so if you want to delete all the notes, just press Command A and press Command X. And to revert the process, simply press Command Z. Okay, so that's pretty much about the channel rack. And now I'm gonna talk about how to add an instrument or a sampler to your song. So in this channel rack, there's this plus button. You go to this plus button and scroll through. There's a whole list of different instruments, and they are all categorized, which is basically this is the controller category. You click on that. It basically controls certain parameters of your instrument. And drum, this is like a drum instrument. And if you right click on this plus button, you actually get a full view of all the different instruments you can choose. And this is the controller. If you scroll through on the left bottom, MIDI, MISC, patcher, samplers, synth, synthesizers, and those are the synthesizers, and those are the visual, which is basically if you want to combine music, your music and some visuals together, you can use that. So to delete an instrument, right click and press delete. If you want to duplicate your instrument for whatever purpose, you can go to clone, right? Or if you want to replace it, simply press select replace and then scroll through the list. And regarding the slots, show one more thing called fill each 2 steps, fill each 4 steps, fill each 8 steps. And this is really efficient if you're programming drum patterns, let's say. So I want to kick, and I want to kick on every quarter notes. So I just do fill 4 steps, and it will automatically fill 4 steps for me. And the same with fill each 2 steps. The same with fill each 8 steps. And now I'm gonna talk about this thing called playlist, which is this huge thing on this right. And here you can see there's FL Studio has given you 500 tracks. So basically, each track is a place that you can put your patterns in. So like this is a pattern 1, and if I just add something in pattern 1, just say like kick, and I just draw it randomly somewhere, and say track 1, and I can just drag it right, and it will give me all the inputs. And yeah, so basically this is how you combine all your different patterns together so that they will sound so that you can hear them sounding together instead of sounding individually. So here's another pattern, like here. So after you've arranged all of these, how do you play them in this arrangement? So one way to do it is to see those numbers here and simply click on those numbers, and basically this little green triangle will jump out, and it's indicating where you want to play it. So drag it left, so it plays from measure 1, and press space. Yeah. And if you've noticed that when I press this number, this thing also changed, right? It used to be this orange light on this thing called PAT, but when I press on this number, it changed to this green light on song. So what this means is if the orange light on PAT shows up, then it means you're only playing what you have in this current pattern that you're selecting. So if you're on this pad mode and the number shown here is called pattern 2, then if you press the space bar and play it, then it will only play what you have in pattern 2, which is like this. And the same goes for pattern 1. So you can scroll through here or just scroll through here and here just to hear what each pattern sounds like. But when you're in the song mode, it will play everything you've got in this playlist instead of an individual pattern. So if you want to switch back, simply press the pad button and it's gonna play the individual pattern audio. Yep. And this thing is called the metronome. So if you want to hear the tempo, you can have a metronome to it. Yeah, and here are the green lights. Here are the green lights. So what those green lights means is if the green light is on, then that means the track audio will be playing instead of being muted. So if you want to mute a track, simply press on the green light, left click on the green light again, and it's gonna mute the track. And if you want to only listen to one track, say you have a bunch of things in all of those tracks, but you only want to listen to the audio in track 1, then you simply right click on the light in track 1, and it's basically what it's doing is called something called solo. So solo this track. Yeah. And the same thing goes for the instrument in your channel racks. If you left click on this green light, then it will mute the instrument. If you right click and choose solo, it only plays what that instrument has. Now moving on to the mixers. So a mixer is basically a place where you have an input signal and then you add a bunch of sound effects and convert it to an output signal. So basically what a mixer is represented in FL Studio is this button, and you click on that, and here you see a really big list, and basically this is all the mixer tracks. FL Studio has a bunch. I think it provides up to like 125. Yep. So here are the different interfaces you can choose for the mixer. So the default is compact, but you can always choose compact 2, compact out, and wide, Y2, Y3. Anyways, those are all the options you can play with. So basically in a mixer, you've got your individual tracks and a master track. So a master track is where all your individual tracks go to. So as you can see, an individual track, say like track 11, it's always connected to something. It's always connected to the master. So if you want your signal to be heard, it has to be connected to the master. So in this case, insert 11 is connected to the master. As you can see, it's linked here. It has a link here. So how do you know that what mixer track represents which instruments? So to do this, let's just exit this mixer for a while and go to the channel rack again. And here you can see that in each of these instruments, like kick, clap, hat, and snare, you've got a number on the left of it. So what those numbers are, say if this is kick has a number of 1, then that means kick is assigned to mixer 1, which is here, insert 1. So if you want to view it, simply double click on this number, and yeah, here you go. The instrument is linked to insert 1. And the same for clap, and also the same for hats and snares. However, if you do not see a number appearing on the left of your instruments, then that means this instrument is automatically connected to the master. So if you want to connect it to an individual mixer, click on this instrument, left click, and click on this small triangle right here. And in this channel option, select route to free mixer track. So now you can see that it automatically routes you to a free mixer track, which is track number 5. And what it also does for you is it automatically gives the name of the mixer track for you so that you can easily identify it, and it gives you a new color. So, and you can do this manually as well. So let's say for kick, it's number 1. So if you want to change this mixer track's names to kick, right? Then double click on, right click on this mixer track, and here's a bunch that you can see. Mixer track rename color and icon. So rename it, let's say rename it kick. And then don't forget to press this accept button or press enter so that it will actually change the name. And the same thing goes with change color. So like just change it whatever color you want, and you can also change the icon here. Here's a bunch of icons. And yeah, so a bit more about Mixer is kind of about its functions. So on its right, you can see this Mixer has 10 slots. So what those slots means is you can imagine each slot as a space for you to add in some audio processing or audio effects. So for this kick, you have 10 slots, and if you click on one slot, and it will jump at you a bunch of things. So those are all the audio effects or controllers that you can add to the sound. Note that an audio effect itself is not really an instrument, it's an effect that's added to the instrument. So don't confuse that with this channel rack thing here. You cannot add an audio effect in your channel rack. You can add them in your mixer. So just as an example, let's add this reverb. So if I process this, the kick will have echoing because basically what reverb is doing is it gives the sound an echo. So yeah, this is basically what a mixer does, is to add audio effects to your instruments. And let's say if you want to switch an instrument to a different mixer track, then it's very easy to do. In FL Studio, you simply select this number, drag it, and then scroll up and down. And that's gonna assign you to different mixer tracks. So if you want to see here, right here you see the track it's being highlighted on is moving, meaning that the mixer track destination is always changing. So yeah, last thing I want to talk about is here, is on this left side where you have a bunch of things, that current project, recent files, plugin database, whatever. This is where you can drag your stuff. What I mean is, if you go to the packs here, and here are the drums and the cymbals, and if you click on them, it's gonna return its sound. So let's say if you're looking for drum samples and you really want some good drum samples, so you're scrolling through the sound, and you found one that you actually like. So how do you add that to your channel rack? It's very easy in FL Studio. So you simply drag it to the channel rack and it will be there for you. So yeah, and here is where you can see your own projects. Right now, since I don't really save my own projects in here, so I can't really see anything here. And here's the backup. Now the backup is where FL Studio automatically helps you save your files, so that when you have like something wrong happened, whatever, system crashed, and you didn't save your project file on time, you can find it in backup. So that's a pretty nice feature. And here in the demo projects, you can find various artist projects. If you want to listen to any of them, just simply drag it, and then drag it to like a somewhere free space, and it's gonna show up the demo project. Yeah, so pretty cool. And okay, so now if you want to save your own project, just simply press Command S and say save it wherever you want. And so yeah, just type in and say save, click save, yeah, and it's gonna be there. Okay, so that's pretty much it for lesson 1.